Hello, in this lesson we are going to cover what is Bitcoin. I'm sure you've heard it on the news from your friends, in the newspaper, somewhere you've heard of Bitcoin. So what is it? Well, Bitcoin is what is called a cryptocurrency, and a cryptocurrency uses cryptography. So it uses advanced mathematics to essentially ensure the validity, the security, the transactions of this currency. I've got a separate video covering exactly what cryptocurrencies are, exactly what cryptography is, hashes, and all of that good stuff. So I won't be essentially rehashing all of that because I've got separate lessons covering that. So cryptocurrencies are essentially a digital currency, and they are not backed by a single authority, namely the government. Theoretically, a fiat-like currency, which is essentially what the dollar is, could be backed by an organization that isn't the government, but usually they are backed by the government. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, which is a digital currency not backed by a single authority, aka the government. So that's one of the ways that it differs to the conventional currency. Another difference is linked to the fact that it's not backed by a single authority, is that it's decentralized and distributed. Again, I won't cover in too much detail what each of these terms exactly mean because I've got a separate video covering them, but just a brief overview. Essentially not controlled by a single authority, there's not one single point of failure, and there are a network of users that essentially help the running the processing of this system. So that's essentially the essence of decentralized and distributed networks. Another difference is it's not issued. With conventional currency, a government would issue it if they need more of it, which would lead to deflation. And whereas with cryptocurrency, they are created using a process called mining. So they are mined. So you might be thinking, what is mining exactly? I've got a separate video covering what exactly mining is, but an overview of what mining is. Mining is the process of verifying transactions validity. So a transaction would be Bob sent 5 bitcoins. So if Bob sent 5 bitcoins, so BTC is just a shorthand term for Bitcoin. So 5 bitcoins to Joe. This needs to be validated to ensure that Bob did actually send it. So mining is the process of that. And you might be thinking, okay, mining is the process of verification of transactions, but how does that lead to more coins being issued? Well, to put it simply, new coins are generated as rewards for verifying a certain number of transactions. So that's how new coins are issued, and they are a reward simply because the process of mining, especially for the Bitcoin cryptocurrency, is quite intensive on your computer, so you generally need specific computer hardware like ASIC cards to be able to really do mining effectively and profitably. Another thing worth noting is the creation rate, so the amount that are coins that are issued. So the creation rate is automatically halved every few years as more bitcoins are generated. So this is similar to the physical method for mining gold, because there is a finite amount of gold. The more gold that is mined, essentially the harder it gets, because there's a scarcity in unmined gold. So that's essentially the process. That's essentially what Bitcoin is trying to simulate. And there is a maximum number of Bitcoins, and that maximum number is the maximum number of Bitcoins will be 21 million. And based on the difficulty of mining and the way the creation rate is automatically being halved, it is estimated that all that was a terrible B, all Bitcoins will be generated by 2140. So that's the estimation of when all 21 million Bitcoins will be mined. And you might be thinking, okay, if there's a finite amount of Bitcoins, how will transactions occur afterwards? If I can only transact X amount of Bitcoins in the future, then won't it limit the number of users? Theoretically, but there's a way around this, and this is built into the Bitcoin protocol itself. Part of a coin can be transacted, so you don't have to transact a whole Bitcoin. You could transact 0.00407 of a Bitcoin, and whatever that value is, whatever you're essentially comparing it to, whether that's a fiat currency or gold, that is the amount that would get transacted. And you might also thinking, how small can a Bitcoin be devised by? And the smallest denomination is 1 Satoshi, and this is named after the creator, whether it's an organization or an individual, we do not know. Satoshi Nakamoto, and that is 8 decimal points, so 0.00000001. Let me confirm I got it correctly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7, 8, obviously including this one. So this is the smallest Bitcoin or denomination of Bitcoin that can be transacted at any given time. Another key feature of Bitcoin is something called the public ledger. And the public ledger stores all transactions and is shared by users on the network. And the final piece of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is something called exchanges and wallets. An exchange essentially facilitates the sending and receiving of the coins, and a wallet essentially stores the bitcoins. A lot of exchanges and wallets actually operate vice versa, so there are plenty of exchanges out there that will store your coins as well. This is just to remove the most amount of friction as possible so users can get into it and they don't have to manage several different services for storing the coins and for sending and receiving. So this has just been an overview of what Bitcoin essentially is. It's a cryptocurrency, which is a digital currency not backed by the government. It's decentralized, distributed, and yeah, there's not much more to know about it than that. If you're interested to know more about exchanges, more about mining, and all the other stuff like decentralized and distributed networks and cryptocurrencies and just cryptography in general, feel free to check out my other lessons. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If there were any concepts in the video that you didn't quite grasp, feel free to go over them again, and I will see you in the next lesson.